Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. I do hair as a pastime. I love doing hair. I love doing installs of like sew-ins and making wigs for people, or sometimes, rarely, I actually enjoy doing braids. But more particularly, like if I had to pinpoint an area that I love more than anything, it's definitely wigs. And with that being said, a lot of people are falling into this frontal hype, which is absolutely amazing. I love frontals like nobody's business. All of my wigs, I believe all of my wigs at this point have frontals because I love them. But there's a lot of things I feel like people don't know about frontals. And so I'm here today to expose the truth so that you all can have and make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to go forward with purchasing a frontal or sticking with closures or, you know, your natural leave out. So with that being said, I'm gonna first talk about the benefits to having a frontal, and then I'm gonna jump into the things I feel you all need to know. So if you want more videos like this, where I talk about a bunch of random things and hair, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this video. Like, tell your friends who are interested in frontals about this video, and let them be an informed consumer. The great thing about having frontals is the fact that you have zero leave out, and when the wind blows, you don't have to worry about your edges showing. Like if you were to have a closure, you're able to part your frontal anywhere you choose, which is amazing for those updo hairstyles, ponytails, braids. Like I've seen some people get braids. You can also get like a lock wig or something like that for the people who are interested in versatility with braid styles that they don't have to commit to. Also, not having any hair out whatsoever, but that's more so for the people with bigger foreheads like myself. You have like zero hair left out, including your edges. But the people with the smaller foreheads, I believe you still have to leave out some of your baby hairs. So yeah, for the most part, there's zero hair left out. Additionally, having a frontal compared to a closure. With closures, for the most part, sorry, like this light is shifting. I apologize about that. But closures, for the most part, you have to have your style set in a given area. So like if your closure is, what is the typical closure size? I think a 4x5, if I'm not mistaken. But it's typically this much give. So you can only part the hair in this area, and then this part of your hair either has to be left out, or you can see the tracks, and it doesn't make for a great transition. So having a frontal takes away all of those problems, and it just looks better compared to a closure, in my opinion. However, for the people that do want the ease of just throwing on a wig and leaving, closures are your best friend, because you technically have, like, you don't really have to do anything. You just throw it on and go, because most of them still have some give with a band in, like, around this area. So it keeps that part down. It's easy to take off and just leave. With closures, for the most part, you don't have to secure them down with anything. With adhesives such as Got To Be Glue or any other adhesives you all have seen on my channel. Go ahead and check out those videos. But yeah, you don't really have to secure them down with anything other than a band. to keep them in place. Whereas with the frontal, so that it looks more appeasing to the eye, you do want to secure them down so that the ear tabs or the edges aren't lifting up and flying away. You can go without doing that, but you know, whenever you pull your hair behind your ear, you don't want to see anything flap up. So that's definitely I guess a pro of the closures and a con of the frontal. All right, so now we're just going to jump straight into the things that they don't tell you about frontals and that you need to know before purchasing them or wearing them on your head. First and foremost, if you wear sew-ins, I know a lot of people post hashtag no glue, hashtag no band, this, that, and the other, or whatever on their pictures when it comes to how the frontals are adhered to the head. They look great. It's great that you don't have any glue. However, when your hair starts to grow out from the scalp, as your hair will after 2 weeks, that frontal will begin to lift, and then you will have to adjust it or go back and get it reinstalled, which is going to cost you money. We don't want to lose any money. So yeah, that's the downside to having your frontal sewn in, because it will eventually lift. You could sew it in using other methods, but again, it's a tedious and costly process. So the ease of having a sew in is great because you don't have to worry about, like a wig or something just flying off your head. But like I said, it will begin to lift. And on Instagram, they don't show you the before and afters when it comes to how long these people have had these things in their head. They only show you the install. Like, they show you what it looks like once the stylist is complete or the individual is complete with their head. They don't show you what it looks like 3 weeks later when the entire perimeter of your head has all of your new growth showing and you just look a hot, inconsistent, textured mess. Now, after your first install, I'm just gonna just tell you this now. Your lace will never be the same. And what I mean by that is it will never adhere to your head the same way it did the first time you installed it. So the second time you go to install it, it's going to be a little more difficult because that frontal has gone through some things. So you're going to have to wash it in a particular manner in order to get it back the way it was, but it won't be entirely the same. So to better explain it, just think about all the stuff, like if you wear your wigs all the time and you do adhere them, think about all the stuff that sits on that wig, your natural sebum oil from the scalp, any products that you put on the hair. With me, I have curly hair, so any products that I put on this hair also touch the frontal. Anything that it's exposed to, so like if you're a smoker or something, that smoke sits on that frontal. If you I don't know, go swimming in it, the chlorine or whatnot sits on that frontal, even if you wash it out. So you're gonna have to wash it as thorough as possible to remove as much as possible. But again, it will not be the same as it was the first time you installed it. And I will eventually do a how I clean my frontals video for those of you out there who want to know how to thoroughly clean your frontals. And there's two different ways that I use. One of the most important things that I've noticed from wearing frontals and installing frontals on other people is the fact that a lot of people are surprised by how much shedding they get from their frontal. Your frontal will shed. And what I mean by shed is even like after you've plucked your frontal as much as you could to get it to perfection. Eventually the frontal will shed because it's going through a lot. Like, you're running your fingers through the hair, you're combing the hair, you're sleeping on the hair, and it's rubbing against your pillow or whatever it is that you sleep on. You're like, it's going through the motions, and it's only held together by a knot. Like, that's what it's held. I mean, that's how it's bonded and adhered to the lace. It's knotted. So a lot of people also don't understand that once you bleach that frontal or those knots, or even the frontal in general, you're breaking the bonds of that hair shaft, and eventually that hair is going to shed because it's been damaged. So to prevent that, you know what? I think I'm going to do another video on what you can do to salvage your frontals. But yeah, so you're going to experience shedding. I experienced shedding reinstalling this, and this frontal has gone through a lot. It's shedded. Like, I got some bald spots, but that's exactly why I tell you all, do not pluck your frontal like to perfection the first time you wear it. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but your frontal will shed. So do a light pluck on it, and then let the hair naturally fall out, so that when you do, you know, decide to wear it months down the road, you still have some hair on your frontal. Like, it's not completely bald. I also want to mention that most of the shedding occurs around the hairline. And again, it's because that's where a lot of the tension and, friction to the hair occurs. So most of your shedding will come here, but you may occasionally get bits in the crown area as well. Also, I want to mention fraying. It's kind of like, when you cut jeans and how the denim or something on the jeans fray. That can also happen to your frontal around the your ears. And that's because when you go to cut that, you're cutting it directly at, like, on the frontal, close to the hairs. And so that area will shed a lot as well and fray a lot. And it can fray upward into the actual crown area of the hair, because there's nothing like on that area, if that makes sense. It's just your skin and then the hair, because that lace has been cut off. So the hairs will start to shed up if you don't protect them as much. So try not to, do this motion or anything in that area, and try to be careful with anything you do regarding the ears, so that you're not pulling and tugging at those fragile and weak hair areas. Now, for those of you that care about your edges, this is probably one of the most important parts of this video you're going to want to know. Now, lace has it's textured, and I think I've included some snippets of what I'm trying to explain to you all in this video. Hopefully I have been. But lace is very textured, and it's a little rough. Like, it's not smooth at all, unless maybe you have a silk-based lace. But I don't like the silk ones because they don't transition nicely. Anyway, it's a personal preference, but they're rough. With that being said, whether you're wearing a stocking cap or you're not wearing anything at all, that lace is going to rub against your hairline. It's going to rub against your hair, because especially if you're natural, your hair is rough. Like, it is rough, and all of that friction against one another is doing more damage to your hair than putting cotton on your hair. It's like taking wool and doing this to it. So with me being like a rough sleeper, I noticed when I first started wearing frontals, I don't have this problem anymore. But when I first started wearing frontals, I noticed that my hairline was thinning out. And I'm like, how is this possible? Because my hair isn't coming out with any of the adhesives that I'm wearing, but it was actually the frontal rubbing against my hair and my hair strands, because I noticed my strands initially were getting shorter and shorter, but I had to cut my hair off entirely for another issue, which I'll talk about another day. But your hair begins to become weakened by the cap or wearing your natural hair against that frontal, because it's constantly doing this, like I said, and it's moving on your scalp. So I think it's important that you know how to protect your hair underneath your wigs. I will talk about that in my next video, but how you go about protecting your hair beneath your wigs and on your hairline when it comes to wearing these things, because they will do damage if you let them. Also, I think for those of you that are adhesive wearers, so the Ghost Bond and Cling, the Bold Hold tape wearers, any adhesives, including like a spritz spray or the freeze spray by, what is the name of this company? Oh, Got to Be Glued, even the freeze spray. So when you're wearing your lace, people don't tell you at all that it is possible for you to lose your edges. Those 1 and 2 strands that it takes with it, it may be the case in which those strands were prone to, what is it called? Like basically not growing back because they've been snatched from the scalp. It's kind of like waxing. Your hair strands may be prone to that. I experienced a lot of that in the beginning. But there's things that I do, again, I'm going to mention in the next video, that I think other people might want to do to ensure that their hair is at its best when wearing frontals. But that glue alone, the adhesives and tape particularly alone, will, and the Got to Be Glued glue, whether it's the black glue or the one in the black tube or the one in the yellow tube, they will eventually give you bumps around your hairline. And they're terrible bumps. They hurt. Some of them don't hurt, but it's like they're, like even thinking about it just gives me goosebumps. They're kind of like the little white head. So when you go to press them out, white stuff comes out, and it almost makes me disgusted to think that it's possible that it was the glue. I don't get those anymore. I'll explain to you all how I avoid them personally. So you may want to try this if you have experienced that, but it is possible for that adhesive to give you bumps around the hairline. Speaking of your hairline, again, because this is the most fragile part of your hair or your head and the hair area, when you're wearing your frontal, if you do not adhere your lace properly, it is possible that because of how your wig is constructed, that you will eventually get tackiness around your hairline, and it's like the glue. So somehow that glue finds its way, again, I'm sorry about the light, it's daylight, find its way around your hairline, and it will start to pick up random things like your oils from your hands, the oils from your hair, your scalp, the lint from where you've been sleeping, anything that you have around this area, your makeup, like it will start to pick up on that. So yeah, that's something that you might want to be wary of. I'll also mention to you in the next video how you can go about alleviating that or decreasing it as much as possible. Now, when it comes to cleaning or washing your face with a frontal, it's an adhered frontal. So a frontal you plan on leaving on, because I think this video for the most part in some areas is focused and geared toward people who sleep in their frontals, such as myself. But yeah, when it comes to wearing makeup and or washing your face, sometimes it's the most difficult thing when it comes to wearing a frontal, because you have to be careful as to how you clean your face, because you don't want that frontal to begin to lift. It will begin to lift eventually, but when you put water near it, it makes that adhesive tacky feeling, and the lace can possibly begin to lift. So you have to be careful as to how you're cleaning your face and how you're showering, because that steam may also assist in that lace lifting itself up. So yeah, be careful when it comes to washing your face. I have to wash my face a certain way almost every night just to make sure I clean around my hairline, but I get as close as possible to that lace to make sure I don't have any makeup in that area, because like I said, if you wear makeup a lot and you sleep in this thing, sometimes that makeup will get in this area. So if possible, try not to get super close to your frontal when wearing your makeup. Well, when wearing your makeup, try not to bring it all the way up to your hairline. I don't know if you all noticed this in one of my previous videos that I had up showing how I apply my wigs on, but I think that was in the summer when I did that one, or no, it was in the fall, and I had just come back from a trip where it was hot, so I tanned. If you wear frontals a lot, the place in which you wear your frontal will, like this part of my hairline, so this part from anything from here on back will be my regular skin color, and anything from here forward will be a different color. So whenever I go to take off my wig and wear my natural hair, there will be this line of demarcation around the hairline, and it is ugly, especially for someone like me who I tan really fast on my face, and it's a big difference between my skin color on my scalp and the skin color on my face. So that's something you might want to try and avoid at all costs. So yeah, do things to protect your skin from changing colors drastically. That's just something, I don't know, I definitely don't like, but it does happen. I forgot to mention this when talking about how your hair can shed while wearing your frontals and you can lose hair. But for those of you who throw combs into your wig or those clips, whether you're throwing the wig on and off or wearing it to bed, those combs pull at the hair. So any client of mine that ask for combs in their wigs, I explain to them that those combs rub up and down against the hair, and that also breaks and snaps the hair. I mean, you just have to think about the women who are natural and how combs can be your best and worst friend depending on how you utilize them. So if you have combs in your wig, I personally suggest that you remove them and or swap them out for something that has more satin in it so that it doesn't rub against the hair. And yeah, especially the ones that you purchase that already have the combs in them, try to take them out, ladies. They are just bad entirely for the hair, because that wig is constantly shifting and snapping hair along with it. For those of you who are into fitness like myself, working out with a frontal is great. But if you wear an adhesive while working out, it is terrible, because that adhesive will begin to lift, and so will that frontal. And the glue or that adhesive, whether it's got to be glued, which is a gel, or an actual adhesive glue, would begin to penetrate the shaft or the holes, the perforated holes that are in that lace, and it will start to stick to the hair, and removing that is the worst process. So whenever you're working out, try not to sweat. And sweating is only a sign that your body's overheating. That's it. Your body's trying to cool down. So not sweating isn't terrible. Trust me. But yeah, try not to sweat as much. Like, do a light workout if possible, or tie the hair down so that it's not lifting like crazy and allowing that adhesive to seep through the glue. Speaking of that, depending on how you adhere your hair, it is possible, if you don't give that hair enough time to sit. So read the instructions on the back of the labels of the adhesive. If you don't give it enough time to sit, and that glue seeps through that hair, it's possible for that hair to shed even more, because that glue will rip those little strands out. So make sure you use a thin amount of glue whenever you are adhering your lace to your head, or a thin amount of whatever it is that you use to apply your wig. Cleaning the lace has to be one of the most difficult things you will go through with this wig. Like, it's going to be all pretty, pristine, and neat when you first put it on, but as time goes, it will become the most disgusting thing ever. Cleaning your lace will make or break your comfort with wearing frontals. If you do wear an adhesive, cleaning that lace is a process, and you will have to clean it. I recommend minimum every 2 weeks, personally. If you can get away with not doing that, great. But I'm pretty sure your stylist or whomever applies that wig will begin to love you, because they know you're going to have to come in and get that thing cleaned. And it is the most painful process, because that glue or whatever adhesive you use has seeped into that thing, and it takes a minute to clean it and get it right back to close to where it was before you actually installed it. And it's no joke. Like, it takes some time in order for you to clean it, and sometimes you have to clean it 3 to 7 times in order for you to get all of that gunk, all of that gunk out of it. It is possible for your frontals to rip. Frontals are very, very fragile, and you have to be delicate with them. So be careful how you move and adjust your frontal so that it doesn't rip on you. So yeah, this concludes my video on what they don't tell you about frontals that I feel you all need to know. If you have any questions or any other comments to make about what people need to know about frontals, list them down in the comment section so that other people can be informed consumers. These are just things that I've personally gone through, or my clients have gone through, and I think you all should be informed about. So yeah, like, comment, and share this video, and until next time,